Welcome to the very cold Melbourne winter weather night time of 2:17 a.m. in the morning. So today I'm going to do a video about um, some ideas, some recommendations, and some thoughts about my journey last night with my guide slash character. So we'll start with the little bit about my experience with the guide that I met. Um, and I have some recommendations for ways that you can work imagery, fantastical lands, landscapes, images, energy, creatures into your dreaming and or astral and or meditative practices, because we are focusing on a much broader spectrum today. Now that we have met our guides, if you have done this challenge or have done the exercises from yesterday, and I did meet mine, I am going through the process myself of actually just drawing a card every day of a different aspect of that guide rather than sticking with one specific card. I decided that that would be a much more flexible way for me to work with my guide, seeing him in different forms and working with the resistance of seeing him in different forms so that I'm not just forming a stagnant idea of what he looks like or is like, because that gives me the opportunity to work with him a lot more and see his different the different aspects of his personality. Okay, so itchy eye for some reason. Okay, so I had the experience last night, and I mentioned in my video that I drew the King of Swords, and I had him in the position of the full position. And I had a dream where he turned up as Prince Arthur, and I say that he turned up in the full position because I felt like that was his youth position as Prince Arthur. And so for me, that was a really interesting experience. I won't go into my dream itself. I shared it with a few people. But it was nice to see that my dream had taken to the idea of using the sort of suits and the energy of intellect and logic, and like a dreamy kind of up here, and very noble like, I guess, for me. Whenever I think of King of Swords, I do think that of that kingdom, that ruling the kingdom, and how, you know, the different levels of that kingdom, like knights, princes, princesses, all that sort of stuff. And so that was interesting to see. And then I wrote a couple of things down around that, and it showed up a few things about shadow, which I've sort of been working with as well. And I kind of had this really big push to go out and start looking for resources to sort of start building a bridge between what I see in my mind and my meditations and what I can bring back to my creative process. So for me, it's always been about writing or creating art for collages and things like that, or digital images, I guess. Not so much a drawing digital images, but word magic, I guess you can say, in words. And so I have been having this massive push for about a week now to start drawing again. And I have. I started drawing some um, places that I am working with in my astral and dreaming world, which again, this is a little bit of a weird situation where I don't want to share everything about my astral world or what I see or what I work with there, because I think that that is a very private thing. But I also want to just sort of share some of the experiences I've had. So I sat down, I grabbed my pencil and some paint and some watercolors, and I just doodled a little bit. I looked on Pinterest for some different buildings and things like that that I could kind of get an idea of how to construct that in my mind. And I called upon my guide to assist with that. And I called upon a couple of my guides to help me with the construction of that as well. So bringing that dreaming and astral into the real world. What is real? Into the physical plane. And so from that, it actually gave me a few ideas about how I wanted to talk about um, working with those kinds of creative impulses and ideas in terms of all those areas like dreaming, astral, traveling, and work projection, etc., creating, etc. Creating, character creating and working with that in different environments too. So I'm a little bit weird today, so I feel like my energy is a little bit weird. I think that's because I'm stepping back into my creative space. But we'll move on. And so I drew the magician because we're moving back into the magician phase of the seed of creation. And he looks like a very mermaidy kind of man, which to me works with exactly where I'm working in my astral and exactly where I'm working with my dreams as well. So this will be very interesting to work with. But as you can see, one of the things that I want to focus on today is really centering myself in a location. I've met my guide location time. And this really helps because, as you can see, there is a sea, there's some mountains, maybe that's just a little what is it called, a ravine? Or rock pool. And he's doing his magic there. Also, I love the fact that his hair is like a tree. Yeah, it's so beautiful. Which means that he's really centered in the tree of life for me. And you can see he's got a glyph as well. He's got the energy here, so it's about speaking. And some interesting things coming that way. And so when we're speaking about worlds, we want to be able to speak about the environment that we're creating or walking into. Now, because this comes from the guide perspective and or character story perspective, which really can be powerful if you kind of bridge those two ideas together. So you feel like you have some semblance of control about creating and helping to create this guide in your own mind, guiding character, but also the flexibility of allowing them to show you things as well. And so in terms of location, I wanted to recommend this book. This book has been on my shelf and my collection for a very long time. I have not read through it at all. I barely have touched the surface of it. But it's one of those books that it's the premise is an illustrated guide to creating imaginative fiction. And it's one of those books that really goes into the weird and imaginative and creative and really just forces you in a positive way to look at the world differently, to look at nature differently, to look at your own ideas differently, and to begin to draw inspiration from other people. Because I think as well, like there is that bridge between, and I've mentioned this before, bridge between being inspired and doing things all by yourself. And when you are in that place where you are like collecting images or collecting ideas, where you can sort of form your own and create off that, I think books like this are really fantastic for that. So I'll go through a couple. And I like it just for the artwork. Sorry about putting that on the screen. But it has some pictures in here that you can really go within and, copy. And by copy, I mean scan or print or things like that. And use them to really explore the landscape of your meditative spaces and dreams and astral. It does have a very astral feel to it, this picture, for example. Here's another one. Again. And there's a lot of artwork, a lot of creative ideas, a lot of artists who've spoken about different ways that they write and create different worlds. And sometimes it has examples of, I quite love this one, which I think I may actually explore at some point this this image itself, and you could actually have this in your astral world and or dreaming world or creative space. It's actually a shelf where somebody collected and still collects a lot of different ornaments and different objects on his travels and just in general through life. And it's used as an inspiration shelf. So he may grab down the skeleton and he'll sort of reflect on it and play with it and write stories based off it. And I think it's a really creative and inventive idea to use the objects that you already have around your house. So that's another suggestion that I'm going to make too, because I have worked with this image before where I picked an object in my house and I use it as a creative talisman to create a story or a poem. And I think as practices of dream work and meditation and magic, this would be a really fantastic way if you are a creative writer or creative artist or just somebody who wants to play with ideas and thought forms and objects to be able to bring them to life in the astral space, spiritual space, and then down the physical. So that was that picture has been a constant inspiration point for me. And there's some just fantastic the history of science fiction. So as you can see, like this would be a great idea if you wanted to do some mind mapping or drawing of your creative landscapes. And I think from now I'm just going to call it creative landscapes, which covers the dream, the astral, and the physical. Because really what we're doing with the seeds of creation is combining all those threads together to produce something, to connect with our guides, to have an experience with our guides, and therefore to create a character or guide and experience. Because, it's just what we're doing. I've got a lovely picture here. I absolutely love this. So, as you can see, it is a prime example of what possibilities are open to you. And I definitely think that today would be a really great idea if you haven't already got a Pinterest account to open a Pinterest account and start a board where you collect images of fantasy lands or writing landscapes or sci-fi landscapes. A lot of images on Pinterest too about witchcraft and cottages and things like that. Really start to build a collection that you may want to print off later. You may want to make a collage and stick it on your wall for when you're actually working with this energy. Those are the great ways that you can grab inspiration from other people, other artists, and sort of start to work these things into your dreams and work things into your physical artistic space. It is also a fantastic way to ground your character in a world and ground your guide in your world on all the levels. Because what you do want to do is you want to establish a place where you can meet them. And I mentioned this in a couple of videos. An idea of having a crystal or having a space that you come back to every time. And this was recommended for active imagination in inner work. And I'll put the link below for that video. I believe it's the books by Robert Johnson. I always forget his name, but I'll put the link below. And he talked about how a man who was very, very busy and had a very busy life, he used to spend a couple of minutes a night coming back to this one place. He'd cross through the threshold. He'd have this bridge that he would cross, and he'd always cross that bridge to come in there, and then he'd use the bridge to come back. So I spoke about that a little bit yesterday. I want to extend on that a little bit today and talk about using a circle in two ways: a circle for dream circling and a circle as a portal to come to and from and to meet your guide and character. Now I'm going to talk about in terms of character, because I think this is the stronger way to do it when you are actually writing and creating stories and narrative forms from it. And you can create a sigil of this if you like, but I'm just going to sort of talk very briefly about just centering. And so you want to have a specific place, And I think having a circle is good because it represents a lot of what we already work with anyway, like cyclical nature, the collective unconscious, the universe, portals, all that good stuff. So, I mean, you can have a square if you want, or a triangle, whatever really works for you, but you really want to have just a dedicated spot. That might be in the entrance of wherever you're working towards, it might be in the middle of it, it might be at the exit of it, or it might be just that you want to work within that sacred space with your guide or character and have those conversations there. In my mind, I'm picturing that, I'm sitting in that circle with my guide or character, and that's how we're communicating and having conversations. That's where all the information gets fed. And within the dream circle, you're inviting that guide or character to begin to conversate about your dreams. So maybe, like, 10 minutes before you go to bed, you sit down with your guide in your circle and you talk about the dreams that you've had so far, the things that you found, the things that you want to know a little bit more about. You work with that energy, you put that energy up, you put that intention out there, and then you have the dream. And then you write your dream the next day, see if whatever comes up. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And also, you can call upon your other guides or goddesses or energy or whatever energy you work with as well to have a community inside your meditative or astral space, your creative space. And I think that's a fascinating idea because you are really, and this is going to sound hilarious, but I'm just going to put it out there. I have done the round table many times where I will I'll call a cast, or I'll put a notice board in my mind. I'll be like putting it on a wall in my mind, calling all characters for this novel. You are expected to be at the round table in 20 minutes. And so I'll prepare myself in the physical world, they'll prepare themselves in the astral world, then we'll have a round table meeting. And I kid you not, guys, it was one of the most empowering, fantastic, and inspirational experiences that I had, because I had a chance to actually talk one-on-one with my characters about where they want to be. I might be talking a bit fast today, so if I am talking really fast, sorry guys. Seem to have a motor mouth lately. And so you could use the same concept here. You could have a little table where, your guides or energies or goddesses are sitting around and you're writing together. You're writing or talking about your dreams, or you just want to like really start connecting those two things together, your dreams and your guide, and start to have that conversation, start to really believe that they are a creative part of this process, because they are. Because if you don't believe that they are, your subconscious mind is not going to actually take that on board. And I do find that when I am working with something and I don't believe in something, or I have a fear around it, then that image or that person or that idea is going to become a shadow in my unconscious mind, turn up in my subconscious mind, and it will work to make me understand it. So I'd prefer to come at it as a more open and flexible way than to regress or oppress and sort of, go on that way. That's not to say that when you are working with your creative process that you're not going to have shadows in that realm. As I've mentioned before, I think that is possible. So, and you can talk to those as well. You can say, maybe there's a being in your dreamscape that you really want to understand, and you can use your guide as a translator or a mediator to understand that as well. So I also just picked up some books, as I mentioned, about creating spaces and things like that. I picked up this at the library. I'm going to be working with this today just to read, maybe have a bit of a draw. It goes into a lot of things. It looks like it's very digital art based, but it's also one of the things I loved about it, if I can find it. It has like shippies. And for me, I want to start building aerial cruisers. Scientist. I want to start building the ship in my story, and to do that I want to start building it on my astral world first, so I can really gain a perspective of what that is, and then I want to integrate it into my dreams. And also, I want to look back at the dreams I have had of the spaceships that I have had for the past month or so, because I've had many dreams, and kind of capsulate in my mind what they look like. And I've had some experiences in my meditative space where I have met guides who have come from other planets and that are other beings that have come as ships as well. So I'll be looking at that as well. I think that's about it for now. And I just wanted to mention as well something you might want to consider as in terms of those three layers, the astral, the dreaming, and the creative, working with your guides, is working with mythical creatures as well. Be open to the consideration that your guide or character may have um, mythic elements, and I think that is highly likely if you are working in that in the realm to have some lore or some mythical or mystic creatures in that place that will turn up. But you can always put yourself in there, and you can always put these things in there. I mean, I love satires, for example. I am in love with them. They are just so smexy, and I would love to see one in my dreamscape. I do have a lot in my astral realm, but I'd love to see some more in my dreamscape. So those are just a lot of ideas, but hopefully they will start expanding your thinking about really going beyond your tarot cards, really going beyond what you have right in front of you, and start to look at the ways that you can use resources more, because I think that one of the most helpful and creative ways that we can be creative human beings is to use the resources that we have, use your libraries, use your Kindle, use Pinterest, and start developing that connection with what you like and what you don't like, what you want to manifest in the physical and the astral, and what you don't want to. And if you're a story writer, what things you could actually bring into your story worlds that are collective or personal, that will give that story a lot more grounding in the collective mind. Thank you guys for watching. I love you all, and I'll speak to you later. Bye.